Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. I am Dave Biddle, flying solo on today's show. A lot to get into. You're telling me there's a chance. We will get into all things Dumb and Dumber in a moment, but I want to let you guys know about something that's the opposite of Dumb and Dumber, and that's Omaha Steaks and a great deal you guys can get. It'd make a great holiday gift. The holidays are here. Let Omaha Steaks take the guesswork out of gifting. Shop carefully curated gift packages that are guaranteed to make spirits bright all winter long. Go to omahasteaks.com and save 50% off site-wide. Plus, when you use the promo code Bucknuts at checkout, you'll get an extra $30 off your order. Send tender, juicy, butcher's cut filet mignons, mouth-watering burgers, gourmet jumbo franks, or even easy-to-prepare meals that are ready in a flash. With Omaha Steaks, the possibilities are endless. This offer will not last long. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away, so shop early and beat the shipping rush. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Take advantage of 50% off site-wide, plus use the promo code Bucknuts at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. The most wonderful time of the year can also be the most stressful, but you can be the gifting expert with a little help from the guaranteed perfection of Omaha Steaks. So again, 50% off site-wide plus an extra $30 when you use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. And every purchase is backed by their unconditional money-back guarantee. Simply go to omahasteaks.com and achieve gifting greatness today. Again, omahasteaks.com. Then use code Bucknuts. You get 50% off plus an extra $30 off. That's awesome. All right, let's get into it. All right, so you're telling me there's a chance. Last year at this time, we're sitting there thinking, oh, they don't deserve to get in, and they're not going to get in anyway. I'm not thinking that way this year. And by the way, I ended up changing my mind last year anyway when I initially said I don't even want to see them get in. I mean, everybody's mad right after the game if you lose to Michigan, but Ohio State 6th in the college football playoff. The latest iteration came out. We'll get the final rankings on Sunday. So obviously, the big thing is, the long shot is Oklahoma State. They're 15-point underdogs to Texas. If Oklahoma State can pull that upset, and even if they're 15-point underdogs, that wouldn't shock me. The other two are, beyond reasonable. Georgia's favorite over Alabama. I think Georgia needs to beat Alabama because if Alabama wins, I can't see them leaving 12-1 Bama out. At least not for Ohio State. Bama would still probably need some help, but either Florida State to lose, probably Bama would need Florida State to lose, and I think that's possible. Louisville, Florida State without their quarterback. Florida State is favored by just 2.5 points. So if Georgia wins, Georgia's favored by 6. Georgia beats Alabama. Louisville beats Florida State, which is like a coin toss of a game. I might take Louisville on the money line there. I kind of have a good feeling Louisville's going to win that game. And then the big, again, Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma State can pull the upset against Texas, the Buckeyes are going to make it. They'll get in as the number 4. You'd have, it'd be Georgia, Michigan, presuming Michigan beats Iowa. Major assumption on my part. The winner of Washington, Oregon, and then the Buckeyes. And again, you might say, well, Bama's 8th, Ohio State's 6th. Yeah, but if Bama beats Georgia, the number 1 team, the 2-time defending national champion, that would be a great win. Certainly way better than anything Ohio State has. Penn State's ranked 10th, so that helps. Penn State doesn't feel like they should be 10th, but they are. And what's Notre Dame, like 17th? So Ohio State does have 2 wins over top 17 teams, but man, beating Georgia and being SEC champs, Alabama would get in my opinion, if Florida State loses. There's at least going to be – there's been some talk maybe the SEC could be shut out. There's no way the SEC is going to be shut out. I could see a scenario where Georgia and Alabama get in. I know you guys don't want to hear that, but I mean, think about it. If chaos happens and Florida State loses, Oklahoma State beats Texas, and Alabama wins, Alabama's going to make it at 12-1 in that scenario, like I said. And then are you going to keep – is the committee going to – not you, not me, but Are you really going to keep? Is the committee going to keep Georgia out at 12-1 with their only loss being to Alabama in the SEC championship game? I don't think that they would keep them out. 2-time defending champ, which shouldn't matter this year, but we all know it does. 12-1 Georgia. If they're pitted against 11-1 Ohio State for that final spot, Georgia's only losses against Alabama in the SEC championship game. Now, Ohio State's only loss would be at Michigan, and it would have to be Georgia couldn't get blown out. But Georgia has better wins than Ohio State, though. So I don't know. Or do I mean, I don't know. But I guess Penn State's technically a better win. It just seems like I get that helps Ohio State, though. There's just no, I mean, Penn State being 10th does help Ohio State. I just think it'd be tough to imagine 12-1, 2-time defending national champion Georgia being left out with their only loss being a close loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they would take 11-1 Ohio State over 12-1 Georgia. I'd have to believe that to see it. Let's just hope Georgia wins, Louisville wins, and Oklahoma State wins. You know, Big 12 is thinking, come on, Oklahoma State. Yeah, they don't want Texas in their final Big 12 game to be Big 12 champs. Speaking of conference champions, if Michigan's able to win and they're like 23.5-point favorites, they're going to win. And the over-under is 24.5. No, I'm kidding. I think it's like 35.5, the over-under for a Michigan-Iowa. Michigan's favored by 23 or 24. How about the drama of Tony Petitti having to give the trophy to Jim Harbaugh? The Big Ten championship trophy. Oh, boy. Hello. So we'll see. The Buckeyes still have a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. All right. Now let's get into it. If Ohio State does sneak in, they're the 4th seed. You guys think Kyle McCord could beat Georgia? I mean, Ohio State should have beat him last year, but that was with C.J. Stroud. I don't know. I'd like the chance, though. I think this Ohio State team, even with there were warning signs all year, like we've talked about, I'd still like the chance. I think there's not a great team in college football this year, although Georgia might disagree with that. Michigan might disagree with that. But Ohio State can beat anybody on any given day. I mean, Michigan's the number 2 team in the country, and Ohio State outgained them in Ann Arbor, and Ohio State didn't shoot themselves in the foot. Ohio State wins that game. So, I mean, there's not a big gap between Ohio State and the top 2 teams. Ohio State outplayed Georgia last year. Again, that was with C.J. Stroud, though. But the defense is better this year. Not good enough. You can't let Michigan go on a 7-minute drive in the 4th quarter, chew up, all but 1 minute of the clock, add on to their lead. So now you need a touchdown. They get a field goal. You only have 1 minute left, no timeouts left. That was defense played good early for Ohio State, did not play well late. All right. Let's get into Kyle McCord and what's going to happen maybe next year. Let's assume that things do not break Ohio State's way this weekend. Let's assume that Texas wins, which if that happens, the Buckeyes they're out. They're probably Orange Bowl bound. Bunch of guys would sit out that game. Jeez. What happens then? I think you got to keep Kyle McCord in there this year. I mean, it's too late to make a change now. Unless Ryan Day determines he's definitely going to make a change next year, which I don't know if he's going to do that during bowl prep. Then I would get the quarterback, at least get somebody playing time in that game, meaningful playing time, whether it's Devin Brown, Lincoln Keenholz, or both, and then Aaron Nolan enrolls in January. So I don't know what's going to happen. Or do they look in the portal? So is it going to be Kyle McCord again as the starter? Is it going to be Devin Brown? Is it going to be Lincoln Keenholz? Is it going to be Aaron Nolan? Or is it going to be someone from the portal? Let's break it all down. First of all, I don't think it's going to be Aaron Nolan as a true freshman. I love that he's coming in early. I love they have him. But probably not. I mean, I'd put that at like 3%. I don't even know. Tempted to say 1%. I almost said 5%. So I'll put it in the middle, 3%. That Aaron Nolan as a true freshman is going to be the starting. And I mean like from the get, not if there's like disaster strikes and a bunch of guys get hurt, somebody transfers, and then he's like the last guy standing. I'm not talking about that. I just mean Aaron Nolan beating out all these other guys. All right. And I understand there's a good chance Kyle McCord could be the starter next year. I don't want to see that, but we'll see what happens. I'm on record. I think it's time to, Ryan Day needs to find a new quarterback, whether that is Devin Brown, Lincoln Keenholz, Aaron Nolan, the 3%, or the portal. I don't know, but I mean, let's talk about the portal. There are guys out there, but I mean, are you for sure going to get somebody that's better than even Kyle McCord? You can get somebody that's better than Devin Brown. You can get somebody that's better than Lincoln Keenholz. I don't know. I mean, this is Ryan Day's wheelhouse is quarterback, and he missed on Kyle McCord, in my opinion, especially considering the fact he passed on J.J. McCarthy for Kyle McCord. So he's got to get this figured out. Now, he did make, remember when, obviously you guys remember when Urban retired, the thought was Tate Martell was going to take over at quarterback, and Day, you can tell behind the scenes before we even knew that Justin Fields was coming, we kind of got word that he was not a big Tate Martell guy. And I don't want to say that was easy because Ryan did work with Tate for, a year or two, but before becoming head coach, but he didn't recruit him. He recruited Kyle. He knows the family and all that. Like it's going to be harder for him now to go to the portal and tell Kyle he needs to transfer or whatever would happen. He doesn't have to tell him. If he says, I'm going to go to the portal, we'll find a quarterback. That's all you need to say. You're welcome to stay and compete with them and add depth if you lose, but we are going to go get a quarterback in the portal. So I don't know what the answer is, but I don't make $10 million to find that answer. That's Ryan Day's job. Okay. I just know I've seen enough out of Kyle McCord. I mean, it's just not there. It's just not there. The arm talent is there, but there's just too much other stuff that's just not there to be a successful quarterback. I mean, I had the misfortune of rewatching the game because I had to for my job. I had to a story where what we learned. I used to do it right after the game. Now we do what we learned live, the podcast, and I do the written version of what we learned after I rewatch the game, usually Mondays. This time it was a Tuesday. And McCord was even worse than what I thought watching it live. Day actually called a good game. There was wide open receivers a lot. McCord missed them. He was predetermining. I couldn't believe how often, unless he's either terrible at going through his progressions, like completely remedial, or he's predetermining before the snap where he's throwing the ball. I think it's the latter. It's pretty evident when you rewatch the game. The interception to Will Johnson is the perfect example of that. He was throwing that slant to Marvin no matter what the coverage was, no matter what. Now, listen, if you're going to throw like a bomb no matter what, 50 yards, okay, still not smart. I could at least get down with that. Throw a 5-yard slant no matter what. Man, you got to pull off of that and, or throw it in the dirt. Will Johnson was right there. They had it perfectly covered. People are giving Marvin a hard time for not breaking it up. It's like, give me a break. Go back and watch that. That was just thrown right to Will Johnson, and McCord completely predetermined what he was going to do. Footwork's terrible. He's thrown off his back foot almost all the time. Very rarely steps into his throws, very rarely steps up in the pocket, very little pocket awareness. The accuracy leaves a lot to be desired when he did choose the correct receiver. The accuracy left a lot to be desired from McCord. And we've seen it time and time again. This was not just one game. We've seen it time and time again. The warning signs were there and the stats look good, but against this schedule, look at some of the teams they played. Look at where he really excelled, where they really put up good stats. Michigan State, put up really good stats against Michigan State, put up really good stats against Western Kentucky. There were games where he looked shaky. Even the Notre Dame game, I've talked about this. The claim to fame was the last drive there. Well, that should have been ended with an interception. If that Notre Dame guy doesn't drop an interception, it's thrown right to him. Well, Michigan didn't drop those. I don't even fault McCord that much for that last interception. My gosh, you're on skates, you're down by 6, you have no timeouts left, you're trying to drive the length of the field. Like, that's just, you can't put yourself in that position. I don't even put that on McCord at all, that last interception. You're just, at that point, you're just going for broke. Again, though, I don't put that on him, but that's another example of him not stepping up, though. He just, the offensive line, overall, the offensive line protected him pretty well, considering the fact that he's no threat to run. The defense knows he's no threat to run. Offensive line held up there pretty well. I thought a lot of people have been critical of the offensive line. Rewatching the game, they were not the reason Ohio State lost this game. Could they have been better? Yes, but a lot of people thought Michigan's defensive line was just going to destroy Ohio State's offensive line. That didn't happen. On the drive where Ohio State tied it at 17 all, I thought they were going to win the game when they did that. Ohio State ran the ball 8 consecutive times that drive. Then they got the touchdown to Emeka. Ran it 8 consecutive times and effectively. So obviously. So the offensive line was getting the job done. It's just, man. And the defense was getting the job done until they weren't. And what's crazy is Michigan was more successful without their best offensive lineman. Zinter goes, it's almost like that energized them and Ohio State fell asleep after that gruesome injury. First play after the injury, touchdown. Corum. Pseudo long, or was it like 20, 25 yards, something like that. Then they go on that time-consuming drive, 7 minutes, again, without Zinter. I'm sure Ohio State's defense was gassed, but that's no excuse. You can't say, we were gassed. Well, then get guys in there that are fresh. They overcorrected. We all wanted to see less of a defensive line rotation. That doesn't mean zero defensive line rotation, though. My gosh. It reminds me, it's like, gosh, it's like everything's got to be a one spectrum or the other. One end of the spectrum or the other. It's like when people say, well, Kyle McCord, doesn't look like an Ohio State quarterback. I hear the lazy argument, oh, well, people are just spoiled because of C.J. Stroud and Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins and all this nonsense. No, any reasonable football fan knows there's middle ground between those guys and what we saw from McCord this year. There's middle ground, okay? You don't have to be a first-round NFL draft pick to be an effective quarterback at Ohio State. McCord just needed to be decent against Michigan, and he was not. Michigan didn't even play that good. They just were solid and didn't beat themselves. Okay, they didn't shoot themselves in the foot like Ohio State did. They didn't drop third down passes. Okay, that wasn't a great throw by McCord, but Emeka's got to catch that. And what a way to start the game. You drop a third down pass. So instead of you're on a drive, you're now probably midfield or even further. You're now going 3 and out. I mean, that's like a turnover right there. And McCord, that interception was a killer. I mean, I say a killer. That was the biggest play of the game, but Ohio State still had their chances. I'm going to be clear about that. But I'm not breaking news. That was the biggest play of the game right there. Michigan's offense was doing nothing. You give them the ball at the 5-yard line. Basically just give them a touchdown. It still took Michigan's offense 4 plays to get those 5 yards because that's when Ohio State's defense was playing well. So I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback in 2024. But Ryan Day needs to figure that out. And I don't think just being like, well, hopefully Kyle McCord gets better at all these things that even though he's in his 3rd year, and I didn't see progression during the season. I mean, shouldn't say that. He was so bad against Indiana. I guess he did get better. There was some progression. But that's because he started off so shaky against Indiana, who was a terrible team. We're all sitting there, well, maybe Indiana, maybe they got a good defense, as we were talking about on Monday's show. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe Indiana's terrible and they're going to fire their coach. So all the excuses about Indiana go out the window. And I don't want to hear it was the first game either. I mean, you have to have your team ready. Every team across the country plays first games. We know in college football, you lose that first game, which they didn't. But if they played a good team, they might have. They played Indiana and looked shaky. But we all know. I mean, now next year, not so much because you're going to have 12 teams that make the playoffs, but you lose that first game in college football. The beauty of college football is that matters. You can't just be like, well, it's like the NFL. You can start off 0-2. It doesn't really matter if you get it going. Not in college football, at least not this year. It's another reason I don't really like the 12-team playoff because, we already have the quarterfinals. We already had the quarterfinal with Ohio State, Michigan. We're having a quarterfinal with Oregon and Washington. You could argue it's a quarterfinal with Georgia and Alabama, although that's a little more convoluted as we got into earlier. It's just they're doing it for money, as you guys know. Just follow the money. That's why they're doing it. They're going from 4 to 12. That's just too many teams, but it's all about the money, all about the Benjamins. But we already have basically quarterfinal games. Whatever. It's going to happen. Is what it is. All right. I'm going to talk about Amari Abor transferring in just a moment or hitting the portal. Who else might be on their way? Which positions Ohio State's going to target to bring guys in from the portal? I'm going to get to that in just a minute. I want to let you guys know about our other sponsor and a great deal you guys can get from nuts.com. Yeah, perfect. Bucknuts and nuts.com. Match made in heaven. Do you wish you could go to Willy Wonka's candy factory? Well, since that's not exactly possible, let me introduce you to the online version of that, nuts.com. In addition to an amazing selection of nuts, they have tons of classic candies like butterscotch, fudge, and licorice. Nuts.com is your one-stop shop for freshly roasted nuts, dried fruit, sweets, pantry staples like specialty flours, and more. Their wide selection means there is something for everyone. At nuts.com, quality is a top priority. They roast their nuts and pop their corn the same day it ships. so they reach you deliciously fresh. Satisfaction is guaranteed. I like the half pop popcorn. It's very unique. It's delicious. I like their roasted almonds. It's all good stuff. They've got, I mean, even the chocolate covered gummy bears. I've never had those before. Those are good. My kids love them. And this is a great deal. This would be a great way to get another great gift for the holiday season right now. And you guys can get a great deal. Right now, nuts.com is offering new customers a free gift with the purchase and free shipping on orders of $29 or more at nuts.com/bucknuts. So go check out all the delicious options at nuts.com/bucknuts. You'll receive a free gift and free shipping when you spend $29 or more. That's nuts.com/bucknuts. Should be easy to remember, right? Nuts.com/bucknuts. There you go. All right. Amari Abor exiting stage left. Not a huge surprise. Now, I mean, you could say like, well, he would have the path to playing time next year. Maybe. I think there's no doubt Tuimuloau is going to go pro. Sawyer, I don't know. I mean, probably he will. He's one of those guys. Well, I don't know, man. But who knows? But you're going to have regardless, you're going to have Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson coming back. They've got some other guys like Mickens in the program, Arvell Reese. So there might have been a chance for Amari Abor, but he's in the portal. Who else might leave? You immediately think of wide receivers, but now with Marvin leaving, Emeka leaving, I'm sure Emeka will leave. Julian could come back for a fifth year because of the COVID year, but I think Julian's probably done, even though he wouldn't be an early pick, just a guess. So even with this great freshman class, we really didn't see anybody other than Carnell Tate, but that's nothing new. Marvin and Emeka barely played their freshman year until the Rose Bowl. Marvin didn't play like really at all till the Rose Bowl that year. That's only because Olave and Garrett Wilson sat out. But we saw Tate this year. I think Brandon Ennis is going to be a good one. Noah Rogers, Bryson Rogers. It was a phenomenal class. So those guys are all going to be in the mix. So could Keon Grays look to leave? Perhaps. That's one that gets mentioned. Kojo Antwi, perhaps. But they'll actually have a chance now. So my guess is those guys will stick around. We'll see. And there's always somebody we're not thinking of. I don't think Ohio State's going to – and I imagine a quarterback's going to leave. One of the quarterbacks will leave. No doubt McCord will leave if they get somebody from the portal. And maybe Day's going to sit there and say, listen, we're just going to go to war with what we have. Sit all the guys down, make sure no one's planning. Because if one of these guys is planning on transferring, let's say Devin Brown's planning on transferring, then you need to go at least get some depth in the portal. But if Day sits all these guys down, like we're just going to go to war, you guys are going to battle it out. That way I don't have to find anybody in the portal. You guys good with that? And he gets the word of McCord, Brown, and Keenholz that they're not going anywhere. Then Nolan's coming in. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. And those four guys battle it out. That's a possibility. He goes in the portal, like I said earlier. But there's a possibility Ohio State would lose a quarterback to the portal. All right, who might Ohio State target in the portal? Maybe a quarterback. Again, there's names out there. I don't know if Cam Ward is better than any of these guys that Ohio State has, but that again, whose job is it to figure that out? It's Ryan Day's job. This is his wheelhouse and then some. He's the quarterback guru, and I know he missed on Kyle McCord, but overall I give him a ton of credit. I feel like that's a one-off because he was on C.J. Stroud before anybody. When C.J. Stroud was like a 3-star when Ryan Day was like, who is this? And look at C.J. Stroud now. I mean, he's a lock for Rookie of the Year in the NFL, the most accurate passer in Ohio State history, the only Ohio State quarterback to go over 3,000 yards in consecutive seasons. He went well over. And he's even in the MVP discussion as a rookie, and which is insane. He's not going to win NFL MVP, most likely, but just the fact that that's even a discussion is insane. So good on C.J. Stroud. So my point is Ryan Day knows what the hell he's doing with quarterbacks. I don't think we can say, well, he missed on Kyle McCord, so that defines him. I think that's probably the outlier. We'll find out. So it's on Ryan Day to figure this out. If he believes Kyle McCord's going to be the guy as a senior, then okay, you better be right. You better be right. All right. Now, Ohio State has to target offensive linemen, and they need to get one really good one. They don't need depth. They have guys that can be depth pieces. They don't need that. I mean, a depth. I mean, a depth piece isn't going to be better than someone like Tegra. Tegra should be battling for a starting job, and will be battling. I don't know if we'll win one, but we'll be battling for a starting job. They've got to land one really good guy in the portal. If that's all they get, that's fine with me. But it's got to be a guy that's like a surefire starter. He doesn't have to be a superstar. That'd be nice. Jonah Jackson, I use that example a lot. Find me a guy that's a Jonah Jackson, a guy that ends up being a third-round pick, really good starter, second team All Big Ten-ish type of guy, third team All Big Ten type of guy, third-round pick, something like that. I don't want to see Vic Cutler and guys like that. Josh Simmons was a good get, but he should have been like their second guy they got, because they went after guys and they wanted and that they did not get. So offensive line has got to be a priority. Defensive line's got to be a priority, especially if Tyleek goes pro, which I think he will. Mike Hall's coming back. I don't see Mike Hall going pro. That'd be a big mistake. I mean, guys that we thought, look at some of the D tackles that we thought would go early that Tommy Togi, I fell to the 4th round. Haskell Garrett didn't even get drafted. Tight end. They got to look at tight end. They got to get tight end. They got to get a tight end in the portal. And Jelani Thurman needs to play next year. Has to. Running back, perhaps. Running back. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Although, I like Dallin Hayden. Evan Pryor could be ready next year. They got guys coming in. Chip's coming back. I imagine Trey's going to go pro. I don't see Trey being maybe like a 4th-round pick, something like that. Backs like that tend to go like right around that 4th round. I don't see him being – there's no way he'll be a 1st-round pick. I don't see him being a 2nd-day pick. At best, he'll be a 3rd round. But I think he'll go. A lot of backs, I don't blame him. If you're a 4th-round pick and you're a running back with a shelf life, I don't blame running backs at all for leaving early, even if they're not early picks. I hate when guys leave and they're like drafted like way later than what they expected. Like Luke Whippler last year. He was told he'd be a 2nd-day pick, 2nd or 3rd round. His agents were telling him. Falls to the 6th round. That was bad for Luke and bad for Ohio State, because if Luke would have stayed, he would have had a good year this year. There's no way he would have been a 6th-round pick in this coming draft. Is what it is. So there you go. Ohio State needs to hit the portal hard, and they will. They hit it relatively hard this past year. They did a really good job in the secondary, specifically Igbinosun. I love the Igbinosun get. Jahad Carter ended up not being a non-factor, and we'll see about Lorenzo Styles. But just getting Igbinosun, getting a really good corner and a starting corner in the portal, that was awesome. And you get him for another year too. He was just a 2nd-year guy this year. So they're going to hit the portal hard. I'm just curious, is quarterback going to be one of those? How many? When I say they're going to hit it hard, how many does that entail? It certainly will be, in my opinion, they'll get 5 scholarship guys or more. But is it going to be closer to 10 or is it going to be closer to 5? I don't know. But I have no doubt they'll get at least 5, likely more scholarship guys in the portal. I'm leaning on it's going to be closer to 10 than 5. It'll be somewhere in there, though, in my estimation. All right, really appreciate you guys riding along with me here on this edition of the Bucknuts. And I know you guys take advantage of a lot of those choices, but I appreciate you making the Bucknuts Morning 5 one of those choices. Buckeyes still have a chance, so go Pokes, go Cardinals, go Dogs, and then the Buckeyes will back their way into the college football playoff for a 2nd straight year. I'm here for it. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. I'd much rather have that than a meaningless Orange Bowl where like half the team's going to be opting out. All right. Appreciate you guys. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.